I had to read this insane article written by Douglas Murray, who I guess never got over the fact that the internet is an almighty juggernaut, and the internet doesn't let people forget. Now, Douglas Murray, who is he? Well, he had that debate with comedian Dave Smith on the Joe Rogan podcast about expertise and who should be allowed to talk and pontificate and who shouldn't. And look, for the most part, in my opinion, Dave Smith won that debate, if you want to call it that. Now, Dave Smith, never met him, but I've seen some of his work. Sometimes I agree with him, sometimes I don't, but it is what it is, okay? I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people who agree with me and don't agree with me. Whatever, that's how the whole world is. But see, Douglas Murray made a jackass out of himself, okay? That's just my opinion. And, of course, acting all powerful and wise, like, oh, yes, we should trust the experts, trust the experts, trust the experts, but never once would an expert get anything wrong because they should be allowed to speak. But he's been getting dragged all over across the political spectrum because, let's face it, it seemed like he was whining. And of course, through his whining, he decided to write an article. Now, I read this article. I will probably only read one. I'm going to read only one part of it because Douglas Murray got mocked by Tim Dillon and Joe Rogan. But first, just so you guys get an idea about this article, here's an article that he wrote for the New York Post. For an expert, listen, everyone's allowed to have an opinion piece. Everyone's allowed to speak their mind. I believe in free speech. That's just how I believe in things. And it was published April 17th. This article is like it was written by a jealous ex-girlfriend. And I will definitely, I will be posting the original video that I commented on in the description box below, as well as in the comment section for you guys to check out. But this all seems to be him pontificating and crying that no one's respecting the experts. And one segment in particular really stood out. All right. And again, everything is only like one sentence response. This is terribly written, in my opinion. But it's this segment here, attacks on Israel. Because apparently he's saying that Dave Smith and other people who've been on the Joe Rogan show are attacking Israel. Yeah, listen carefully as I read it. Okay. Attacks on Israel. One of these is a comedian who goes by the name Dave Smith, claiming some Jewish ancestry. He has spent the 18 months since October 7th being very unfunny indeed. Specifically, he has decided to spend his time going around the podcast world sounding off about Israel. Okay? In the process, he largely cites people like him who have many views, but obviously no expertise. People like, okay, so he's not going to be citing anything that Dave Smith had said, because now he goes off on a different tangent in this segment right here. People like Daryl Cooper, who why does Daryl Cooper matter? Who says he isn't a historian, yet has been invited into some of the world's biggest podcasts as a historian. This has nothing to do with your thing about Dave Smith attacking Israel. Continue on. One of Cooper's many ahistorical claims that Winston Churchill was the chief villain of World War II. On these and many other occasions, Cooper has simply lied about history. When invited to debate the world's foremost living expert on Churchill last year, he declined, saying that he didn't know enough to go against such a figure. Which is, where does this relate to Dave Smith attacking Israel? Yet still, Cooper gets invited on show after show to throw out falsehoods that he can't even back up. And on one, which his online interviews seem happy not to challenge him. Where does this again have to deal with attacks on Israel? Another such figure from the world of comedy who is changing his shape to fit the times is Rogan guest Ian Carroll. Where does Ian Carroll fit into this? This is someone who, when he last went on Rogan's podcast, very carefully tried to minimize the evil of Adolf Hitler. Outrageously and completely falsely, Carroll claimed that in the 1930s, Hitler kept his anti-Semitism down, a provably false claim that Rogan did not counter. All these men have also been palling around online with Holocaust deniers and proud anti-Semites like Jake Shields. In this segment, you're saying attacks on Israel. This seems like you are jealous that there are people who've been on Joe Rogan's show. So, of course, people did respond. And most notably, this hilarious interaction between Tim Dillon and Joe Rogan, which in my opinion is pure gold. Drag them through the fire.
There's peace in the Middle East, hopefully. They keep talking about all this, these deals they're all making. Hopefully that the Hamas and the Israel, whatever it is, they get, because
Well, that's
Hey.
one thing that Trump said. If I get in there, 24 hours, the war's over.
That's a tough one. 24 is tough.
That's obviously.
But hopefully they figure it out because it is it's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy.
The human toll is unreal.
Unreal.
And, it's crazy.
Some lady just died. She was the protagonist in some documentary, and she just got blown up.
There is an argument to be made that level of devastation and death is worse than you talking to someone on your podcast.
Allegedly.
There is an argument to be made. It's probably not a good one.
The amount
but there is an argument
with just talking.
There is an argument to be made that, starvation and stuff like that and people dying is worse than a podcast.
But wait a minute.
I wouldn't
Wait a minute
it.
before you say that.
Have you been? No, I love this. Have you bloody well been there? Where's your expertise? Where's the expertise at? Have you bloody well been there? Are you there?
Been there?
When were you last there at all?
I've never been.
You've never been?
Well, am I not allowed to talk about it now?
Have you bloody well been there? Look at his shocked face. Have you been there? Have you been there? Buddy, I got a video from Turncoat Don that's going to make everybody smile. Please watch this whole video in its entirety, even all the way to the end, because I leave the piece de resistance, the nice cake at the end.
Right, that's a good point.
You haven't been?
By the way, how is he in all these wars? Can I just go to wars? By the way, how are you allowed to just go to wars? Is that the way
you should at least
can you just go to
courtesy of going there.
Can I just go to wars, or do I have to come back and say what people want me to say about the wars? Can I go to the wars and have my own opinions, or do I have to have the opinions?
Not if you want to go back.
That's right. It's very interesting, this war tourism. How do I get on this war tourism?
Geez, Douglas Murray, have you ever been to war? Well, I mean, hey, listen, Douglas Murray seems to be going places as an expertise in war tourism. Hey, you want to go on an adventure? Go to a war-torn land. As someone who's had the experience of going to a war-torn area, it's not a lot of fun, okay? I could say that as an expert, okay? I've been to a place called Iraq twice. Not a lot of fun. Wasn't a lot of fun, but hey, have you ever been? You ever been?
Yeah. I'd like to go to the Ukraine. I want to go.
No one wants to go to Ukraine. I don't want to go to Ukraine. I don't want Ukraine to be a thing anymore.
I want to go. I want to go to all this war tourism.
Do you have any awards that they can melt down and make bullets out of?
Joe, think about this. Do I seem like a guy that has a lot of awards?
Didn't you get one of those YouTube plaques when you hit 100,000?
I don't even know where they send it. I don't know where they're sending those YouTube plaques.
We've got a few of those.
But I like this idea of war tourism. I like the idea of going to a war and then coming.
I would like a YouTube plaque if I wasn't suppressed, but hey, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. It does boost up the algorithm.
Back, having a very black and white view.
Yes, I've been there.
I get it, and I know, and interesting. Okay, I like that. Yeah. I like that. I love that.
You feel better than the other people.
Well, of course, there's a lot of people. It gets very murky. Most people I know that have been to war have a very murky, complex view of things. But it is good to go to a war and then come back and be as sure as you were before you came.
And you don't have to go for very long.
No, you go for an hour.
Couple hours.
It's a lunch.
Yeah.
It's lunch on the front line.
A flak jacket that says press.
Tea on the front lines, and then you come back and you have all the talking. Yeah.
And if you're on the right side, you probably don't get shot.
By the way, a lot of journalists, first aid responders have been shot at. Dead, deceased. No one wants to talk about. I wonder if Douglas Murray will ask, what do you mean? Are you talking about experience? My experience? I mean, hey, listen, first of all, that requires what and oof, right? That requires oof, 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 oof.
Yeah. Go for an hour.
Couple hours.
It's a lunch.
Yeah.
It's lunch on
Put
the
on
front
a
line.
flak jacket that says press.
Tea on the front lines, and then you come back and you have all the talking. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're on the right side, you probably
Right.
don't get shot.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Well, there doesn't seem to be a ton of danger for a lot of these people going to these wars. They seem fine.
If you cross that line
Yeah.
and you have a bucket of food with you,
Yeah.
they might light you up.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna go. I'll go to any war and I'll anything you want. So if you want to pay for me to go to a war, I will come back and I go, I saw the Houthis. They're terrifying. They are terrifying. Any war you want. And by the way, any country, if China wants me to, I'm doing it. I'm
You go to
doing it.
Moscow?
I would love to go to Moscow. And I said to my friend, Anna Hoshin from the Red Scare podcast, I said, should I go?
Should I go to Moscow? Hey, well, first of all, by the way, just so you guys know, I always talk about Chicago's sister cities. Just a little fun little Wikipedia fact while you're starting your morning. Chicago has a lot of sister cities. I mentioned Osaka in Japan, Busan, South Korea. Love you, Busan, all that kind of good stuff. Milan from Italy is our sister city. But at the time, before the war started, Russia, we also had a sister city. We also have a sister city in Ukraine. Talk about the most awkward family meeting. Kiev is Chicago's sister city. And at the time, Moscow. That's right, Moscow. So both capitals, the capital of Ukraine and the capital of Russia, are Chicago's sister cities. Boy, the Thanksgiving dinner is going to be awkward with all the sister cities around.
Go to Russia. She goes, you're spiritually Russian, and the maybe you won't leave. She says, the oligarch lifestyle might be for you.
I can see
The
you eating
sweatsuits,
caviar
yeah,
with
the
flip-flops.
smoked fish. She goes, it might, smoking a cigarette on a yacht. She goes, it might be for you. Listening to people's moral justifications for all kinds of things, going,
Yeah.
well,
I see your point. I get it.
yeah,
I mean, what else are you going to do?
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. What happened to those,
Yeah.
all those yachts that got confiscated?
I don't know. It's
Who
a great
gets
question.
those?
I bet it's some high level version of like a police auto auction, right?
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what I'm thinking. Exactly. Like if the
Maybe
cops-
those are the ones you sail to the war. I don't know.
Yeah. When
Yes, the expertise. So here's the thing. I'm hoping you're enjoying this because now, look, Douglas, that article you wrote for the New York Post sounds like a jealous ex-girlfriend. Again, I'm posting the original link to that video in the description box below. I had to read it. My brain melted. All right, just only reading that one segment. It's like this is a guy who is pontificating and crying that he was made a fool of, okay? And he was. All right, I'm just going to say that Dave Smith won that debate, okay? Because at the end of the day, Dave Smith has said it himself. He's a comedian, okay? But he's allowed to do his own research. Like I tell you, my audience, to do your own research. Don't just listen to one podcast or one viewer and just like turn your brain off and say, oh yeah, I agree, and never challenge. No, always challenge, always be skeptical, always look at different opinions so you come up with your own conclusion, do your own reading, do your own research. An educated mind is a very powerful weapon, and being informed can also help you and your community make more informed choices and be more well aware of the situation around us in this neoliberal dystopia. But see, here's the thing. The internet's beautiful. This is my friend Turncoat Don. Turncoat Don is a good man, a powerful person, someone whom I respect. And he did Douglas Murray versus Douglas Murray. Douglas, you will face off against your greatest opponent, your own expertise, yourself.
Have you been to the crossing point? When were you last there at all? You've never been. Talking about an issue in a region you haven't even had the courtesy to visit, whilst developing all of these views about it.
I really resent that form of argumentation.
Sure.
I really resent it. I have the right to talk about whatever the hell I want, and no one's going to stop me or try to intimidate me. Seriously, is that a reasonable form of argument? You haven't been through everything I've been through in my life, therefore you can't comment. No. In that case, nobody can talk about anything. We might as well pack up, go home, and isolate ourselves. In terms of wanting to listen to another person who has experienced something, yes. Yes. But not endlessly. Not endlessly.
Oh man, Douglas is slapping the crap out of Douglas. Somebody make it stop.
I mean, there are some people who've written about there are people who've written about the Holocaust who didn't experience the Holocaust and have written about it better than people who did. The almost aggressive tone in which this is now leveled, I don't like the sound of. Nobody's experience is completely understandable by another human being. Nobody's. This idea that the lived experience has to triumph over everything else is not always correct.
Lived experience over the data is a very bad direction of travel, which we've been imbibing for some time now. Because we all have lived experience, we all have personal experience. But if we claim that, as it were, I cannot understand you and you cannot understand me because I have lived in, well, this is an impossible game. Because if we can never understand each other, because you have had your experience and I have had mine, then where exactly do we go? I think personal experience, lived experience is very important. But we also have to be able to get beyond that to say, okay, but what is the data? What are the facts? What are the provable discussions that we can have here?
Stop it, stop it. He's already dead. Stop it. You know what I think? Whenever I see Turncoat Don do something beautiful like this, I think...
Amazing. 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 Amazing.
Now, it's always important to hear from the other side, too, because I read Douglas Murray's opinion piece. Sounds like a jealous ex-girlfriend. I know. I keep on bringing it up, but read the article, all right? I'll be posting that commentary in the description box. But I think it's important that we hear from Dave Smith as well, okay? Because he had to sit through this and hear from somebody on how he's not an expert, how he's not allowed to think, or all this other kind of stuff. But never once had the experts got things wrong, except for the war in Iraq, Russiagate, the Hunter Biden laptop story, the pandemic. Need I go on and on and on? Because there's a lot of stuff in which the experts got wrong, okay? Because people do make mistakes. And our institutions have failed us. Our media has lied to us. Our politicians have lied to us. I mean, when are we going to come to the realization that, yes, people do make mistakes, and we should not be trusting an all-knowing cast of people? Because that's just how things get even more progressively worse. All right. It's always important to have an inquisitive mind. So I just want to pull up this, just a short segment. Dave Smith did a whole 50-minute response, and I'll be posting that video link of his response as well as in the description box below so that all of you can hear that, because this was a response to Douglas Murray's New York Post opinion post. Okay. And everyone's entitled to an opinion, but geez Louise. Dave, I mean, you really triggered this guy.
You know, I'm not the expert on this. I know I'm not allowed to admit that, but I will admit when I'm not the expert on something, unlike Douglas Murray, who also talks about a lot of things he's not an expert on. But he's talking about Daryl Cooper, not Ian Carroll. He's getting it wrong. Ian Carroll's not a comedian. He's getting that wrong. And the other thing is that this is very mainstream history. There's several mainstream historians who will make the exact same argument. There's not even anything particularly controversial about it. And this is in no way to make the, and you see anyone with a brain here, you see what Douglas Murray is doing. So if you're talking about the fact, again, something that mainstream historians, some of the most notable Hitler historians have also said, that in the early 30s, he was toning down the anti-Semitism because he didn't think that would be too well received amongst the German groups that he had to win political support from. So if you make that argument, that is in no way downplaying the atrocities that Hitler committed. It's just not, but he's trying to make you think that that's what they're doing because he's dishonest. That's all he's got. Okay, all of these men have also been palling around online with Holocaust denier and proud anti-Semites like Jake Shields. Okay, so it's, you know, it's Rogan's guilty for who he has on his podcast, then he's also guilty for who he has on his podcast, who may have podcasted with other people. It's all just ridiculous. Okay. 2 weeks ago, Rogan had his mate Dave Smith on yet again for a long podcast. But for my return to the show, the deal was that I could come on only if Dave Smith was once again in the studio, as if Joe didn't want to be unaccompanied. or that Joe thought it was I of all his guests who must be challenged. Okay, so listen, this is just like the most pathetic bitch behavior after a debate that went really bad for you.
Thank you very much for that. So I want to be addressing this little punk behavior, okay? This kind of behavior, this kind of madness, this kind of ignorance by somebody who is supposed to be an intellectual, who's been on the Joe Rogan experience, the Joe Rogan podcast, numerous times. It really says a lot about his character. And in turn, even in that New York Post article, he was also going after Joe Rogan himself. Like, do you not realize that you should be shutting up and enjoying your slice of pizza? Because as it stands, you know, you were there to defend your perspective and point of view. But throughout that entire debate, you looked like a child. Throughout that entire debate, you were whining and trying to cry about Douglas Murray. That's you. Douglas Murray was trying to browbeat and yell at Dave Smith for having an opinion. And dare I say it, in my opinion, looking more informed than you are about the war in Gaza, as well as other issues, because I think it's important that we see and that we speak about these events and call out the people that have led us there because they're quote unquote experts. Okay. When you trust the ruling class or the experts and they constantly keep on leading you off a cliff, don't you think it's wise to ask yourself, why am I trusting this person if they're doing harm to me and not knowing it? How many times have we been led astray by the experts? How many times have we led astray by those who pontificate? That entire New York Post article is cowardly, whiny, biatch material. All of them one sentences. All of them seem to be someone who is easily triggered and upset on how the internet roasted him. Well, the internet is forever. Don't worry, the internet will forget, but it's always going to be archived there. And knowing how you could not handle yourself post-debate on the Joe Rogan experience with Dave Smith. If you can't defend your own opinions and your actions, or either that, you can't stand how the crowd, the mob, the Coliseum will respond to it, then maybe you need to take a break from the internet. Just throwing it out there. Just me throwing it out there.
In the studio, as if Joe didn't want to be unaccompanied, or that Joe thought it was I of all his guests who must be challenged. Okay, so listen, this is just like the most pathetic bitch behavior after a debate that went really bad for you. Like, look, I don't know exactly what Joe's conversations with Douglas were before the show, but more or less, I mean, I don't think I'm giving away anything I'm not supposed to say. Yeah, Douglas wanted to come back on the show. And Joe was like, he wanted to come on to promote his book. And Joe was like, hey, how would you feel about doing a debate with Dave Smith? And he accepted. You know, it's like, hey, if you don't want to accept it, don't accept it. But to accept it and then go back, like bitching about how this was an unfair condition. I don't know. I've done a lot of debates. I've never once in my life done this. You either accept the debate and then you go do it, or you don't accept it, which you had every right to do. The reason things are going so bad for you is because you tried to do both. You tried to accept it, but not debate me. And that didn't work out very well. Now, as far as, Douglas saying that, like, okay, it's a fair point that, like, yeah, I was on the week before but Joe wanted someone there to challenge Douglas. He wanted to have the debate on his show and not just give him a platform to, spew his propaganda. Okay. Now I could understand from Douglas's point of view, kind of feeling like he would prefer not to do it that way. He would have preferred to just come on and just promote his book. But, at the same time, look, two things on this. Okay. Number one, if I was ever in the situation where Joe, like, I wanted to come back on and talk about something, and he was like, well, I want there to be someone giving you pushback there, I'd go, okay. Sure. I'm taking pretty controversial views, so maybe there should be. When he asked me if I wanted to come debate Douglas Murray, I said yes before Joe finished asking the question. Because like, absolutely, let's do it. And if your whole thing here is that you're saying there's like, there's all these lies, there's all this misinformation being spewed by guests like me, a non-expert, and you're the expert. So why wouldn't you be thrilled at the chance to come smack it down right like on the show?
I mean, case in point, and I'm going to stop here because there's more to this response. And again, I'll be posting this full original video in the description box so all of you can see it in its entirety, because there's more things in which Dave Smith smacks down on Douglas Murray. Because remember, Professor Hotez was invited to be on the Joe Rogan podcast when there was an invite for him to debate against RFK Jr. at the time. Okay. The experts, quote unquote, should be happy and excited to smack down the non-experts. I mean, that's what you should expect. And, Douglas Murray, if you were the expertise, have you never been the bean? Well, then you should be happy that you were given the privilege and chance on the most popular podcast in our time, the Joe Rogan Experience, to debate Dave Smith. But all in all, you came off looking like a biatch. You came off looking cowardly and angry, and then you write this New York Post article, and you don't make yourself look good. You don't represent yourself properly, and everyone is there mocking and laughing at you, as they should. See, the thing about the experts, what I've noticed a lot of them, especially in mainstream, is they can't admit when they're wrong. Or either that they can't admit when maybe, just maybe, public opinion and people being more well-informed is making the experts look unsure of themselves. Challenge everything, question everything. Don't follow the pathway of Douglas Murray and writing a jealous ex-girlfriend article or dissertation. Educate yourselves and be better. So, hopefully this is the last we bring it up. But seeing somebody like Douglas Murray getting dragged over the weekend on Easter weekend of all things, he better learn how to rise, or the people are going to keep on mocking him, the quote-unquote expert.